This is a Sports Catastrophe production. Hey there, Heather, ho there. It's Jeff Cutter Dublin. Welcome to the Sports Catastrophe on this date. And on this day, November the 15th, 2015, HOlm and Ronda Rousey had a fight for the ages in Melbourne, Australia at UFC 193. This was amazing. Now, I know it was mentioned November 14th, but because of the time differential, the match started on November 15th. But the simple fact was that it was huge in Melbourne. I mean, Australia getting a UFC event is one thing, but to have Ronda Rousey versus HOlm be the main event was another. So anyway, now the background of this was that UFC 193 was supposed to have a welterweight title match between Robbie Lawler and Carlos Condit. Unfortunately, because of Lawler's injury, he couldn't do it. So they decided, with Holmes facing Rousey at UFC 195, they decided to push that to be the main event of 193. So a couple of UFCs backwards. So this would be huge. They also decided at a co-main event to have Joanna, and I'm going to butcher this last name, Jędrzejczyk, the strawweight champion for women, taking on Valerie Letourneau, who was Canadian. So anyway, there were rumors that Michael Bisping was also going to fight. Anyway, so it's Australia. And there were some great preliminary matches. Dan Kelly beat Steve Montgomery on decision. Richard Walsh beat Steve Kennedy on decision. James Muntasari beats Anton Zephyr by TKO, spinning back kick. Ben Nguyen beat Ryan Benoit by submission, rear naked choke. Also in the preliminary round, Danny Martinez beat Richie Facialek by decision. Cheyenne Vellante beat Anthony Perosh by KO. Kyle Noak beat Peter Sabota by TKO. And Jake Matthews took down Akbara Ariola thanks to a Dr. Storage. So those were the preliminary fights. But the main event, the main card had 5 good fights. Jarrett Rosholt beat former K1 star Stefan Struve by decision. Robert Whittaker took down Uriah Hall by decision. Mark Hunt, the man from New Zealand who is a famous heavyweight in K1, took care of Antonio Silva by TKO. Joanna Jędrzejczyk kept her strawweight title by decision. It was close, but Letourneau did force her to all that. So, anyway, this was a huge one. So, anyway, but everyone came to see the Rousey-HOlm fight. 56,000 hit Melbourne, and they were ready to cheer. Ronda Rousey was almost undefeated, and a UFC storm force that no one could stop. But HOlm, an ex-boxer, decided, I need to do something about it. So anyway, Ronda Rousey actually began aggressively. But HOlm, with her boxing ability, tagged Rousey repeatedly with her left hand while controlling the distance. Rousey tried to clinch and into an armbar, but nothing happened. By the end of round 1, Rousey was bloodied and breathing heavily, and she just couldn't do it and all that. Round 2, as Rousey tried to close the distance, but couldn't do because of the stick and move strategy by HOlm. Unfortunately, Rousey took a straight left to her chin and stumbled forward, but then HOlm connected with a booming kick to the side of Rousey's neck, knocking her out. It was just shocking that Rousey would not have a chance to take down HOlm in the first place, but then she got tagged by HOlm, and practically it was game, set, match. As HOlm took down Ronda Rousey, everyone was just stunned. It was a massive upset of epic proportions, and no one could believe it. So it was just What can you do? And anything like that. So HOlm ended up winning the match against Ronda Rousey. It was a massive upset and all that. All the greats eventually go down one day, as people will say. There wasn't really a rematch, as Rousey would take her ball and go home in a sense. Rousey tried her best at everything but couldn't do it. Well, at UFC 195 in Las Vegas, when it was supposed to be Ronda versus Holly, it was Lawler versus Condit, and Lawler won by a split decision and kept his welterweight belt, which was huge and all that. So, yeah, so was it worth it? Well, they made it the fight of the night. So, he did what he could. Anyway, yeah, so UFC had a gigantic win with the HOlm Rousey fight. And was it worth it? Definitely it was. Sure was. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do.